A cruel laugh shattered the silence as my wife, Yvonne, reveled in the news of my unemployment. "Always knew you'd fail," she spat, her words a venomous prelude to the divorce papers that swiftly followed. She was upgrading, she declared, abandoning me for a lover she deemed more fitting of her grand ambitions. With a quiet resignation, I conceded to every demand, every audacious claim. Little did she suspect I harbored a $73 million secret, a hidden fortune poised to decimate the gilded cage she was so eagerly constructing for her new life. Months later, when the truth finally pierced her carefully curated reality, her screams tore through the very air, audible 3 blocks away. By the way, please like and subscribe if you enjoy stories like this. My name is Kevin Rodriguez, 46 years etched with the scars of 2 decades dedicated to fortifying small businesses across the vast expanse of Texas. I began with nothing. A fresh-faced graduate of community college armed only with a network security certificate and a burning desire to safeguard the vulnerable. What I hadn't anticipated was stumbling upon a revelation that would irrevocably alter the course of my existence. 8 years passed, a barbecue joint in Austin became the unlikely stage for our first encounter. Yvonne, a whirlwind of laughter and ambition, was celebrating a promotion at her marketing firm. I, exhausted from a day spent installing camera systems, was simply seeking solace in a meal. Her laughter, a siren's call amidst the restaurant's clamor, drew me in. When her eyes met mine across the crowded room, I knew my fate was sealed. "You don't look like you're from around here," she teased, as I finally summoned the courage to approach. "Born and raised in San Antonio," I countered, "but I've been working all over the state." Her eyebrows arched, a playful challenge in her gaze. "Security systems? Like catching cheating husbands?" I chuckled. "More like making sure no one pilfers the till at your local pizza place." That first conversation, a 3-hour odyssey, revealed a woman of sharp wit and infectious humor who possessed the rare ability to make me feel like the only person in the room. We spoke of everything: her marketing career, my dedication to small business owners, our families, our dreams. She yearned for travel, for a house with a shimmering pool. I, in turn, spoke of revolutionizing small business security footage, a vision that sparked her playful skepticism. "Revolutionize?" she mocked. "That's a big word for a guy who installs cameras." "Hey," I shot back, "someone's got to think big." 6 months later, she moved into my humble abode. 2 years after that, amidst the rustic charm of her parents' ranch outside Houston, we exchanged vows in a modest ceremony. Her family, steeped in old-school Texas tradition, ran a thriving construction company and managed a portfolio of rental properties. They accepted me, especially after my security system helped her father apprehend 3 would-be bulldozer thieves. "You picked a good one, Misha," her father declared at our wedding. "This boy's got his head screwed on right." For the first few years, our life was a tapestry woven with the threads of marital bliss. Yvonne championed my business, even lending her creative touch to my marketing materials. We settled into a comfortable house in a pleasant neighborhood, indulged in vacations to the majestic landscapes of Colorado and California. My income, though not extravagant, afforded us a comfortable existence, as the demand for quality security systems kept me relentlessly busy. But beneath the surface of domestic tranquility, a grander ambition simmered. Late into the night, weekends consumed by lines of code, I toiled on an encryption system, a digital fortress designed to render security footage unhackable, yet intuitive enough for any small business owner to master. Each camera I installed was a lesson learned, a deeper understanding of the unspoken needs of the entrepreneurial spirit. Yvonne knew of my project, but remained blissfully unaware of its true scope. I kept the details close, partly due to the uncertainty of its outcome, partly because some dreams are best nurtured in solitude until they blossom into reality. A decision, I would later realize, that saved me from utter ruin. 3 years ago, the first cracks appeared in our seemingly idyllic marriage. Small businesses tightening their belts began to postpone upgrades to request payment plans. Not a cataclysm, merely the ebb and flow of commerce, but for Yvonne, any dip in income felt like a personal affront. "Maybe you should charge more," she suggested one evening, her voice tinged with an unfamiliar edge, "or find bigger clients, commercial buildings, shopping centers." "It's not that simple, babe," I explained. "My niche is small businesses. Commercial work means competing with titans." "So you're saying you can't grow?" Her voice, now sharper, cut through the air. "I'm building something sustainable," I retorted. "The encryption project could change everything once it's ready." She rolled her eyes. "Right. Your secret project. How long have you been saying that?" The words stung. 2 years I'd dedicated to sculpting algorithms capable of repelling the most sophisticated hackers, each breakthrough a revolutionary triumph. Yet explaining the intricacies to Yvonne felt like describing color to the blind. Adding salt to the wound was her sister Monica's marriage to a Dallas real estate magnate. Every family gathering transformed into a relentless comparison, Yvonne contrasting our modest success with Monica's opulent lifestyle. Weekend wine trips, designer handbags, whispers of second homes. "Monica says Derek's looking at properties in Cabo," Yvonne remarked over dinner. "Good for them," I mumbled, not looking up. "When's the last time we went somewhere nice?" "We went to Colorado last year." "That was camping, Kevin. I'm talking about a real vacation." I set down my fork. "What's this really about?" "Nothing. I just think we should want more for ourselves." But it was never nothing. Over the ensuing months, she returned home later, citing new projects and meetings. She spoke of colleagues I'd never heard of, especially a marketing director named Brad, whose revolutionary ideas about brand development captivated her. "Brad thinks I should start my own consulting firm," she announced one evening. "With what startup capital? That's the problem. We never have money for opportunities because you're content with the status quo." Content with the status quo. The phrase echoed, a cruel mockery of my tireless efforts. Every night of coding, every sacrificed weekend dedicated to perfecting my algorithms, every client consultation where I secretly tested new protocols, none of it was status quo. The irony was crushing. I was on the precipice of a breakthrough. My encryption system was nearly ready for beta testing, and preliminary discussions with a cybersecurity firm in Austin hinted at a lucrative licensing deal. But I kept this knowledge guarded, partly to ensure certainty before raising expectations, and partly because Yvonne's burgeoning resentment had instilled in me a profound caution about sharing good news. The situation spiraled. Yvonne's late nights became the norm, Brad's urgent projects her constant excuse. She'd sit at the kitchen table, lost in a world of texts and private laughter, while I toiled in the adjacent room. "Who's that?" I inquired one evening, nodding towards her phone. "Just work stuff," she replied, offering no further explanation. The stark realization, a chilling slap of reality, arrived during Thanksgiving at her parents' ranch. Monica and Derek, flaunting their brand new BMW, regaled us with tales of their investment portfolio and impending European vacation. Derek, cigar in hand, pulled me aside after dinner. "Kevin, man, you need to step up your game," he exhaled, the smoke obscuring his words. "Yvonne's been asking Monica about what it takes to succeed in business." "What do you mean?" "She's wondering if you've got what it takes to provide the lifestyle she deserves." My jaw clenched. "And what lifestyle is that?" "Come on, brother. Look around. Nice cars, nice trips, nice things. Monica never has to worry about money because I make sure of that." That night, driving home in our 5-year-old pickup, Yvonne's silence was unnerving. Finally, she broke it. "Derek's right. You know you could be doing so much more with your skills." "Like what?" "Corporate security consulting, government contracts, real money, Kevin." "I'm building something bigger than that." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Are you? Because from where I sit, it looks like you're just maintaining the same small-time operation you've had for years." It was then that I made a quiet, life-altering decision. I ceased trying to convince her. If Yvonne couldn't grasp the magnitude of my endeavor, then perhaps she wasn't worthy of its fruits when they finally ripened. My encryption software, a digital masterpiece, was nearing completion. Beta testing yielded staggering results. Footage that once demanded hours to decrypt could now be secured and accessed in minutes, fortified by military-grade protection. The cybersecurity firm in Austin was poised to finalize licensing discussions, but I remained silent. Let her believe I was stuck in the minor leagues. Let her compare me to Derek and his ostentatious displays of wealth. Soon enough, she would understand precisely what she had so casually discarded. The chasm between us widened with each passing day. She stopped asking about my work entirely. By spring, Yvonne had abandoned even the pretense of commitment. She'd leave for work before dawn, returning long after I'd fallen asleep. Weekends became solitary affairs. She'd decamp to Dallas with Monica or disappear with girlfriends, while I painstakingly refined my encryption protocols. The breaking point arrived on a Saturday morning. I discovered her in the bedroom, door closed, speaking in hushed tones on the phone. When she noticed my presence, the call abruptly ended. "Everything okay?" I inquired. "Fine. Just work stuff with Brad. On a Saturday morning," she shrugged. "Marketing doesn't follow a 9-to-5 schedule." That afternoon, I did the unthinkable. I accessed her phone records online. Brad's number, a recurring phantom, appeared dozens of times over the past month, including late-night calls and early-morning texts. The pattern, stark and undeniable, laid bare her betrayal. I could have confronted her, unleashed a storm of accusations. Instead, I chose a different path. "Tom, it's Kevin Rodriguez. I need to ask you about something confidential." "Sure. What's on your mind?" My lawyer's voice resonated through the phone. "Hypothetically, if someone were to receive a large sum of money from intellectual property licensing and their spouse filed for divorce, what would be the best way to protect those assets?" Tom's brief silence was pregnant with unspoken understanding. "Kevin, is everything all right at home?" "Just planning ahead, being practical." "Well, timing would be crucial. Assets acquired before marriage or after separation are generally protected. Also, if the intellectual property was developed independently—" I scribbled furiously as he meticulously outlined the legal framework. By the time I hung up, a clear strategy had crystallized. The key, ensuring the sale of my encryption patent occurred after any potential divorce proceedings. That evening, Yvonne arrived home laden with shopping bags, a telltale flush of guilt adorning her face. I bought a few things, she mumbled, avoiding my gaze. Monica is having a pool party next weekend. I needed something appropriate. Another weekend with Monica and Derek. Another opportunity for her to wallow in the perceived inadequacy of our life together. Have fun, I said, turning back to my computer. She lingered as if on the verge of confession before ascending the stairs. I opened my laptop, the latest beta test results for my encryption software glowing on the screen. The cybersecurity firm had scheduled a final demonstration for the following month. If all went according to plan, a multi-million-dollar licensing deal awaited. But Yvonne would never know. Some bridges once burned cannot be rebuilt. The call arrived on a Tuesday morning as Yvonne prepared for work. Cyber Guard Systems, the Austin-based firm, had completed their final evaluation of my encryption software. They wanted an emergency meeting. "We need to move fast on this, Kevin," Marcus Chun, their CEO, urged. "Our competitors are sniffing around similar technology. If you're ready to sign, we're prepared to offer $73 million for exclusive licensing rights." $73 million, I had to sit down. "I'll need my lawyer to review the contracts," I managed to stammer. "Of course. Can you be here Friday?" "I'll be there." I hung up, staring at the encryption algorithms I had meticulously crafted over 3 arduous years. All those late nights, all those sacrificed weekends, while Yvonne bemoaned my lack of ambition. She had no inkling of the seismic shift about to occur, but that same afternoon my world pivoted in an entirely different direction. Returning home from a client meeting, I found Yvonne at the kitchen table, her face stained with tears. "We need to talk," she choked out. I set down my equipment bag. "What's wrong? I can't do this anymore, Kevin. This marriage, this life. I feel like I'm suffocating." The conversation I had braced myself for months had finally arrived. "Is this about Brad?" I asked calmly. Her face flushed. "How did you—" "Phone records, late-night calls. It's not exactly subtle, Yvonne." She looked down at her hands. "I never meant for it to happen, but it did." "It happened, yes," she whispered. I walked to the refrigerator, retrieved a beer, and took a long, deliberate sip, allowing the moment to unfold. A part of me expected to be consumed by rage, by a profound sense of betrayal, but in truth I felt only relief. The charade was finally over. "So what do you want to do about it?" I asked, my calm tone surprising her. "I want a divorce." Okay, that's it." I shrugged. "Yvonne, you haven't been happy for months. You think I'm a failure who can't provide the lifestyle you want. Brad apparently can. Why would I fight to keep someone who doesn't want to be here?" She stared at me as if I had spoken in an alien tongue. She expected me to beg, to rage, to deliver a dramatic plea for our marriage. Instead, I took another sip of beer and said, "I always knew you'd find a reason to leave when things got tough. Guess I was right." The words struck her harder than I anticipated. Her face crumpled, fresh tears streaming down her cheeks. "That's not fair," she sobbed. "Isn't it?" Within a week, Yvonne had vanished from our home, taking refuge in Brad's apartment. She retained a lawyer, a sharp-tongued specialist named Patricia Vance, and filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The first settlement meeting was set for the following Monday. Yvonne arrived, adorned in a new dress and expensive jewelry I'd never seen, clearly Brad's influence. She barely met my gaze as her attorney laid out her demands. Mrs. Rodriguez is seeking 50% of all marital assets, Patricia declared. This includes the house, vehicles, business equipment, and any intellectual property developed during the marriage. My lawyer, Tom Morrison, maintained an unreadable poker face. We had prepared for this very scenario. My client is willing to discuss a reasonable settlement, Tom replied, his voice calm and measured. However, we'll need full disclosure of any relationships that may have contributed to the breakdown of this marriage. Patricia's expression hardened. What are you implying? We're not implying anything. We're stating facts. Mrs. Rodriguez has been having an affair with a colleague named Brad Mitchell for approximately 4 months. Yvonne's face went ashen. She had evidently kept this detail from her counsel. That's irrelevant to the property division, Patricia stammered. In Texas, adultery absolutely affects property division, Tom continued smoothly, especially when the unfaithful spouse is seeking to upgrade their lifestyle at the expense of the wronged party. The word upgrade hung in the air like a resounding slap. Yvonne visibly flinched. After an hour of tense, calculated negotiations, we reached a preliminary agreement. Yvonne would receive the house, her car, and a lump sum payment of $200,000. In exchange, she would irrevocably waive all future claims to any assets or income I might acquire. This seems reasonable, Patricia advised her client. The lump sum allows you to start fresh without ongoing financial entanglements. Yvonne looked at me across the conference table, her eyes searching. You're really willing to give me everything? I want you to be happy, I said, my voice devoid of emotion. Honestly, if that means being with Brad and having the lifestyle you think you deserve, then take it. Just don't come back later asking for more. She signed the papers that afternoon. The divorce would be final in 60 days. As we exited the lawyer's office, Yvonne caught up with me in the parking lot. Kevin, I want you to know— Don't, I interrupted. We're done, Yvonne. You made your choice. Now live with it. I climbed into my truck and drove directly to Austin for my meeting with CyberGuard Systems. By the time I signed their licensing agreement 3 days later, my ex-wife was already meticulously planning her new life with money from our old one. She had no earthly idea of the empire she had so casually forsaken. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I sat in a sleek conference room in downtown Austin, signing the most momentous documents of my life. CyberGuard Systems had completed their due diligence, and my encryption software had surpassed every benchmark. Congratulations, Mr. Rodriguez, Marcus Chun said, extending his hand. This technology is going to revolutionize small business security worldwide. The final licensing agreement, a staggering $73 million with $48 million paid up front, and the remainder in performance bonuses over 3 years. To legally shield myself, my attorney had meticulously structured the deal through a limited liability company owned by an offshore trust. On paper, Kevin Rodriguez remained simply a divorced man, quietly running a small security business. I drove back to San Antonio in my old pickup, passing the house where Yvonne now resided with Brad. They had gotten engaged 2 months after our divorce was final, and whispers among mutual friends spoke of an extravagant wedding planned for Cabo. Let them have their fleeting moment. They were utterly oblivious to the tempest brewing on their horizon. Meanwhile, I had quietly begun constructing my new reality. I acquired a modest ranch property outside the city through the trust, maintaining a meticulously low public profile. I even hired my first employee, a brilliant young cybersecurity specialist named Maria Santos, fresh out of UT with revolutionary ideas about next-generation encryption protocols. Mr. Rodriguez, Maria explained during our first strategy meeting, her eyes gleaming with ambition. The applications for this technology go way beyond small business security. Government contracts, military applications, Fortune 500 companies. We could build something massive. I admired her drive. More importantly, I trusted her discretion. Maria had signed ironclad non-disclosure agreements, understanding that our work demanded absolute secrecy. What I hadn't anticipated was how swiftly my past would resurface. The first tremor arrived when Yvonne's sister, Monica, called me out of the blue on a Tuesday afternoon. "Kevin, we need to talk," she said, her voice taut with anxiety. "About what?" "About my sister and the mess she's gotten herself into." I met Monica at a coffee shop near her Dallas office. She looked drawn, exhausted, a stark contrast to the self-assured woman who had so often flaunted her wealth. "Yvonne's in serious financial trouble," Monica blurted out, no preamble. "That's not my problem anymore. She borrowed money from Derek and me, a lot of money, plus loans from her friends, credit cards, personal loans from Brad's family. We're talking about over $200,000 in debt." I raised an eyebrow. How does someone burn through that much cash in 6 months? Wedding planning, down payment on a bigger house, shopping sprees, expensive vacations. She thought Brad was making more money than he actually is. His marketing firm is struggling and he's been financing their lifestyle with credit. Again, not my problem. Monica leaned forward, her voice dropping. "Kevin, she's desperate. Derek and I are talking about taking legal action to recover our loans. If that happens, she might come after you for more divorce settlement." She waived her rights to future claims. Desperate people don't always think rationally. I sipped my coffee, processing this startling information. Yvonne had always been fiscally irresponsible, but this level of financial self-destruction was impressive, even for her. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I know my sister, when she realizes how badly she screwed up, she's going to look for someone to blame, and that someone is probably going to be you." Monica's grim warning proved prophetic. 2 weeks later, a call came from an investigator named Jake Mitchell. Thankfully, no relation to Brad. "Mr. Rodriguez, I've been hired to look into your financial situation," he stated, his voice devoid of emotion. "Specifically, whether you concealed assets during your divorce proceedings." "On whose behalf?" "I'm not at liberty to say, but I think you can guess." I hung up and immediately contacted Tom Morrison. "They're fishing," Tom assured me. "The divorce settlement was rock solid, and your patent sale happened months after the decree was final. They have no legal grounds for additional claims." But I wasn't taking any chances. I hired my own investigator to shadow Yvonne's activities and had my cybersecurity team sweep my systems for any unauthorized access attempts. What they uncovered was deeply unsettling. Someone had been relentlessly trying to hack into my business computers for weeks, employing sophisticated social engineering tactics to glean information about my clients and projects. The digital fingerprints led back to a cybersecurity firm that Brad's marketing company occasionally contracted with. "They're looking for evidence of hidden income or undisclosed projects," Maria explained, displaying the attempted intrusion logs. "Whoever's behind this knows what they're doing." It was then that I decided to seize the offensive. Through my attorney, I filed restraining orders against both Yvonne and Brad, unequivocally prohibiting them from attempting to access my business systems or harass my clients. Then I unleashed a blow that would plunge them deeper into financial despair. I called Derek. "Your brother-in-law and his girlfriend have been trying to hack my computer systems," I told him, my voice calm but firm. "I have digital evidence, timestamps, everything. I'm prepared to file criminal charges unless this stops immediately." Derek's silence stretched, a testament to his shock. "Jesus, Kevin, I had no idea they were that desperate." "Now you do. I want my ex-wife to understand that I'm not the same pushover she divorced. If she wants to play hardball, I'll bury her." The very next day, Derek and Monica demanded immediate repayment of their loans to Yvonne. Brad's family followed suit. Within a week, Yvonne and Brad faced financial ruin, creditors circling like vultures, their engagement crumbling under the crushing weight of their mounting debt. But I wasn't finished. Through carefully placed sources, I ensured Yvonne learned the truth about my true financial situation. Not the intricate details, but enough to fully comprehend the colossal blunder she had made. I didn't directly inform her of the patent sale. I let her stumble upon it, the way greedy people always do, by digging where they shouldn't and unearthing more than they bargained for. When the horrifying realization finally dawned, her phone calls began. Tears, apologies, desperate pleas for a chance to explain. I allowed every single one to go to voicemail. Some lessons are best learned the hard way. The legal counterattack arrived precisely as I had predicted. 6 weeks after Yvonne unearthed the truth about my patent sale, she hired a new attorney, an aggressive divorce specialist from Houston specializing in post-decree asset recovery. The lawsuit, a desperate Hail Mary, claimed I had committed fraud by concealing the encryption software during our marriage, arguing that its early development work rendered it marital property. They demanded 50% of the $73 million licensing deal, plus punitive damages and legal fees. "It's a desperate Hail Mary," Tom Morrison explained during our strategy meeting, "but desperate people can be dangerous in court, especially when this much money is involved." I wasn't worried. We possessed timestamps proving the patent application was filed after our separation. We had meticulous documentation demonstrating the software was developed entirely on my own time, using my own resources. Most importantly, we had the ironclad divorce agreement, bearing Yvonne's undeniable signature, waiving all future claims. But what truly sealed their fate was the irrefutable evidence of attempted cyber intrusion. "Your Honor," Tom addressed the judge during the hearing, his voice cutting through the courtroom's stillness, "the plaintiff has violated multiple state and federal laws in her misguided quest to find grounds for this frivolous lawsuit." He presented our meticulously compiled digital forensics report, detailing the systematic attempts to hack my business. Computers, server logs, IP addresses, and timestamps, irrefutably proving that someone with access to Brad's marketing firm had attempted to steal proprietary information. "Furthermore," Tom continued, "this appears to be part of a pattern of harassment designed to pressure my client into an unwarranted settlement." Yvonne's attorney attempted to object, but the evidence was overwhelming. The judge, visibly annoyed by what he termed a fishing expedition disguised as a legitimate legal claim, delivered a swift and brutal ruling. Not only did he dismiss Yvonne's lawsuit with prejudice, he ordered her to pay my legal fees under Texas's frivolous litigation statute. The amount was substantial, nearly $80,000. But I was far from finished. Using the court's findings as leverage, I filed criminal charges against Brad's company for unauthorized computer access. While the district attorney ultimately declined to prosecute, the investigation decimated Brad's business reputation, costing him several major clients. Within 6 months, both Yvonne and Brad faced bankruptcy. Their engagement, a fragile construct of borrowed dreams, shattered under the relentless financial pressure, and Yvonne retreated, defeated, to her parents' home in Houston. Meanwhile, I was quietly building an empire. CyberGuard's implementation of my encryption technology had exceeded all projections, triggering the performance bonuses in our contract. The additional payments propelled my total earnings past $90 million. I leveraged this fortune to expand Rodriguez Security Solutions into a formidable player in the cybersecurity industry. Maria Santos, my brilliant first hire, became my chief technology officer, and together we forged innovations that captivated the attention of Fortune 500 companies and government agencies alike. The best revenge, I realized, wasn't obliterating Yvonne's life. It was constructing a life so profoundly successful that her absence became utterly irrelevant. 2 years later, I graced the cover of Texas Business Monthly as the Cybersecurity Entrepreneur of the Year. The article meticulously chronicled how a humble small-town security installer had revolutionized data protection for businesses worldwide. My divorce, a mere footnote, was briefly mentioned, noting my unwavering focus despite personal challenges. Yvonne called me the day the magazine hit the stands. "Kevin, I saw the article," she said, her voice small and tentative. "I'm so proud of what you've accomplished." "Thank you," I replied, my tone neutral. "I know I have no right to ask, but could we maybe meet for coffee? I'd like to apologize properly for everything that happened." I considered her plea for a moment. The old Kevin might have agreed, might have craved closure or vindication, but the man I had become had transcended the need for either. "Yvonne, I appreciate the call, but there's nothing left to discuss. You made your choice. I made mine. We both have to live with the consequences." "But Kevin, I realize now how wrong I was about everything, about you, about what really matters in life." "I'm sure you do, but realizing you made a mistake isn't the same as earning a second chance." She was quiet for a long moment. "Is there anything I could do to make this right?" "The only thing you can do is learn from this experience and treat the next person better." After I hung up, I sat in my office overlooking downtown San Antonio, reflecting on the arduous journey that had brought me to this vantage point. Rodriguez Security Solutions now employed 37 brilliant minds across 3 states. We held lucrative government contracts, served Fortune 500 clients, and our research division was tirelessly developing next-generation security protocols. Maria knocked on my door, a folder brimming with patent applications for our latest innovations clutched in her hand. "Mr. Rodriguez, the Department of Defense wants to schedule a demonstration of our quantum encryption protocols," she announced, her eyes sparkling. "They're talking about a contract worth $200 million over 5 years. I smiled and nodded. This was the life I had meticulously built. Not in reaction to Yvonne's betrayal, but in spite of it. Success, propelled by purpose, not by the bitter taste of revenge. That evening I drove out to my ranch, settling onto the porch swing to watch the sunset paint the Texas hill country in hues of gold and crimson. This land, this house, this breathtaking view, they were mine. But more importantly, I owned my choices and I owned my future. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's simply becoming the person you were always meant to be. unburdened by the dead weight of those who never truly believed in your boundless potential. I never heard from Yvonne again, and truthfully, I never thought of her, unless some errant conversation resurrected the ghosts of the past. Some chapters of your life deserve to remain closed forever. Ladies and gentlemen, since you've listened to the end of this story, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments which state you're watching from. Let's see what percentage of elite viewers make it to the end. And please kindly turn your attention to the screen after this message. There you'll find a full playlist of thrilling stories, a subscribe button for the channel, and our most captivating story. Click enjoy and thank you.